On this episode of Lady K Sailing, we sail into St. Augustine, the oldest city in America. We get spanked by a fishing trawler, and then we drink from the Fountain of Youth.
So here we are, episode 32, and we are leaving St. Mary's, Georgia. We got up this morning and tried to upload the video, which you should have already watched by now, and if you haven't, what are you waiting for? Otherwise, we got up this morning, finally got the video uploaded at about 9:30, went to untie the dock lines, and could not see anything. We thought the fog had lifted. Some of you may have seen our post on Instagram or Facebook. It came back in even thicker than it was when we first got up. So I went for a short walk, tried to find some milk, no luck. But by the time I got back, this was our view. So untied the dock lines and we are headed out to wobble between the Florida-Georgia line. But we're going to Florida. Check in later.
St. Augustine, finally. It's a bit warmer because we're getting more and more south, and we wanted to take a minute to talk about the ICW a little bit further in depth because we've covered a lot of things about the ICW so far. We entered at Norfolk and now we're in Florida, so we've done most of it and we've done the bad part. And we talk about depth a lot in our last couple of episodes because I know a lot of you guys are interested in whether or not you should run outside or inside and how bad the ICW is. And there's a lot of horror stories about hitting bottom, getting stuck, having to wait for tide. We are a 5-foot draft. We have never actually gotten stuck, ever. We've never actually run into real trouble except for our own carelessness when we are either leaving the channel for one reason or another or trying to go anchor somewhere that just isn't really charted that well. So be careful on those points. But we went through South Carolina, Georgia, and I talk about that because that's the area that there are problems. Now, the Army Corps of Engineers takes care of the ICW, almost all of it. If not all of it, I'm not really sure. But they have a project depth for certain sections of the ICW, and project depth means that's their target. And from Norfolk to just into Georgia is 12 feet. And they do a really good job at making sure it's always 12 feet. Typically, it's a lot more than that. But when you get to South Carolina, Georgia, around the state line, due to funding issues, and we're told it's because of Congress, I don't know how all that works, but there's some funding issues that stop the Army Corps of Engineers from getting to project depth. So project depth goes from 12 to 10 feet through South Carolina, Georgia area, and they don't always hit 10 feet. And that's 10 feet at low tide, mind you. It's all low tide measurements. So you could have a 12-foot project depth and it could be 18 feet deep at high tide. But South Carolina, Georgia is underfunded for whatever reason, and they can't hit project depth of 10 feet in all places. So if you look at your Navionics or whatever program you use, you can see the target areas that have been known to have problems. And there's like 1 or 2 every sort of day that you're motoring down the ICW. So what we've done is just planned ahead really well, made sure that we're doing it as calculated as possible, and only running through them at a positive 3-foot tide. So in the morning, the tide starts coming in, and it's 0, sort of when you wake up at 6 a.m. But after a couple hours, it's positive 3 feet. If you know a target area is only supposed to be 3 feet deep at low tide, check Active Captain or check Navionics, run at a positive 3-foot tide, then you have 6 feet. And we'll run for about 6 hours in a day. Positive 3 feet, up to high tide, which is positive 9 feet at the sort of southern end of Georgia, northern end of Georgia, positive 9 feet. So you run at positive 3 to positive 9, back down to positive 3, and then you don't run when it's less than positive 3 feet. And it's just sort of an arc, up, down every day. So we run for about 6 hours, only at positive 3 to high tide to positive 3 toward low. And we've never hit bottom in the ICW. We've never had problems in the ICW. We've never gotten stuck. It's been fine. We've talked a lot about that depth and everything because that's what everybody's sort of interested in, but there's something else that we haven't really talked about, and that is powerboats. That's another, and in my opinion, bigger problem than the tide and the hitting bottom and all that stuff. There are 4 different sort of categories of powerboater on the ICW, and I'm particularly talking about the narrow parts of the ICW. The river will be hundreds of feet wide, but only right in the middle is a project depth of 10 or 12 feet. And it's only about 50 feet wide. So you can go about 2 boats wide, and you can have a boat coming, south and a boat going north, and they can go side by side, and that's fine. But when a powerboat comes up, they have to stay in the same 50-foot channel as you. So the first type of boat, and this is the one we see most often, is the small sport fishing boat, like a console boat or a Boston whaler, or like a 22-foot go fast boat. Those things will typically go right by you, 10 feet of beam, full plane, only the back 3 feet of their boat's in the water, and their 4 outboards are in the water, and their wake is only about a foot tall. It's no problem. Please, stay at full plane if you're in one of these things. Don't drop to half throttle, because then there'll be more boat in the water, you create a bigger wake. Just go by, full chat, give us a wave, we'll give you a wave, no problem. That's the first type, and they're fine. The second type is the big trawler, and they can typically go 4 or 5 knots faster than we can in the sailboat. But if they come up behind you, they'll get on the radio on VHF 16 and they'll say, sailboat at my 12 o'clock, this is trawler X. I'm going to go by you on your port side, I'll give you a slow pass. If you could slow your sailboat down a little bit, I'll be able to go by you even slower and make it even more comfortable for you. That's great. We love that. I get on the radio, I'm like, thank you so much, you're a gentleman and a scholar. I will cut Lady K's throttle. I will come to almost a stop. They will crawl by, and then they'll get back on the throttle. These things will throw like a 6 or 7 foot wake if they're at full throttle and they're cruising at 12 knots or whatever it is. So it's nice. They're fantastic. That's typically the liveaboards and the southbound trawlers. Very, very nice people. Very awesome. The third type of powerboater is the sort of larger, typically a sport fishing boat, and no offense, sport fisher owners, it's not all of you, it's just a couple, that don't really understand what their boat does to other boats. They have no sort of concept of the wake they leave 100 feet behind their boat. So they will come up behind you full chat on plane, and if they go by you on plane, they could hurt somebody on your boat or hurt your boat or the stuff in your boat. And they don't typically go by at full plane, these guys. They will go to about half throttle, thinking, I'm going to go slower to give the sailboat a bit of a break. The problem is when you take a big sport fishing boat and you go half throttle, it puts the stern in the water, and the wake gets twice as tall, because now the stern's in the water and it's just plowing. And they don't understand that it's worse for the rest of us. So they'll go by half throttle, and I don't mean just sailboats or slow-moving blowboats, or I mean, there are hurricane-ridden areas through what we just went through where the docks are broken, the walls are eroded. If you go by at half throttle throwing an 8-foot wake, it's going to make it worse for the houses and the people with docks and the sailboats and the little fishing boats and the kayaks. I know you think you're doing us a favor by going half throttle, but you're not. Slow right down and go by us at, almost idle. I will stop the boat, radio me, I will absolutely stop the boat so that you can go by a bit slower. And don't wake us, and don't wake all the other houses that are already damaged by hurricanes and already having to, file insurance claims, and in the process of waiting for insurance, the land is eroding more from people going by at half throttle. It's just not cool. So that's the third type, the people that just don't know better. And I hope that they can sort of maybe get better at it over time. Then there's a fourth type, and these are where the problem is. We've only met two of these guys. One was way back in upstate New York somewhere. He was in a little 22-foot bow rider. He went by us full chat right across our bow. He was 8 to 10 feet of beam, and he cut across our bow to get back into the channel. It was one of the narrow bits. 22-foot bow rider doesn't really throw much of a wake, so he gave us a wave and a sort of a smirk because he thought it was funny. Fine. It didn't really hurt us. It just rocked us a little bit. But coming into St. Augustine, there was a guy on a boat called Change Order, and it is sort of half sport fishing boat, half trawler, so it doesn't really plane, but it doesn't really go slow either. It sort of just drags its butt in the water and makes a huge wake doing 20 knots. I could probably outrun him in our dinghy.
I would like to change his order.
Yeah. This guy, and we've actually seen this boat mentioned on one of the Facebook groups about the ICW. Somebody else was complaining about this guy, and he's sort of making his way up and down the ICW doing whatever he does. Tries to break sailboaters' necks, I think. I don't know. But he came up behind us. One little console boat went by us, and I'm going to show you guys the video because I did record the whole thing on the GoPro. But a little console boat rips by us, and we are in one of the narrowest bits of the ICW on the way into St. Augustine. It's probably 40 or 50 feet wide. You could do two boats, but you'll see in the video how close we passed to the green marker, and the green marker should be on our left. So we passed quite closely because that's how wide the channel is. The sport fishing boat, the little console, rips through, and that's fine. He's full chat on full throttle, doesn't make much of a wake. We rock a little bit. And then this big Change Order powerboat comes up, and he is 3/4 throttle, stern a little bit in the water, and I'll tell you now, and you probably know this already, the camera never does justice to the height of the waves. Any YouTube video you watch where people are out sailing or they're talking about the wave height, the camera will not do it justice. It'll look like it's only this big. Believe me, these are 8 to 10 foot pointy wakes that these things throw. And they will break cell phones, iPads, dishes, anything in your boat that could possibly move will get broken if you hit one of these things on the beam. And sorry.
Mind you, coming from a racing history, I guess, or what have you, we've done a lot to the boat already to make sure everything's strapped down, tied down, when we know that we're going to put the rail in the water.
Yeah.
Because we're used to that, we know. But when we're not prepared for that, because it's a nice calm day, there's no wind anyway. So
you're doing the ICW.
We're in the ICW, just motoring along, minding our business, trying not to run aground. Then guys like this come out of the woodwork, and they don't understand, I don't think, or they think it's funny that they're...
this guy did.
This guy thought it was funny that this is our home. Like,
yeah.
This is our whole entire world right here in this 35 feet of space, you know? And for those days that we don't strap everything down, things go flying everywhere when we have to take somebody's big wake on the bow, on the nose. Like, it does a lot of harm.
It does. You're putting our boat in jeopardy, and you're putting the crew in jeopardy. Like if, for example, Candace was inside, I don't have time to warn her, and she's traversing through the boat, she could fall and get hurt. If there were kids on the boat, because some of these boats coming up and down have kids on the boat, they could be up on the deck. Like you're putting the boat in jeopardy, you're putting everyone's belongings and their home in jeopardy, and you're putting the crew in jeopardy by acting like this. But I'm specifically talking about this guy, because this guy, and we'll watch the video in a second, went by and I'm gonna have to beep out a bunch of stuff because I saw him coming 10 feet abeam and I started waving my arms, pointing at his wake and screaming and swearing. He popped up, he waved and started laughing. Like, this is who we're talking about. Change order, motor yacht. Anyway, so he went by us, 3/4 throttle, stern in the water, 8-foot pointy wake, and luckily I had enough room that I could turn the bow into it, mow it down. I mean, we submarined the bow a little bit, we took water up onto the deck. Fine, you know, nobody's hurt by that, but we got rocked so hard. If we'd have taken that abeam, we would have probably lost some of our belongings. One of us could have been hurt. And he only left me enough room to take it abeam. I'm sure our bow was in 3 feet of water when we cut over, and then we cut back just in time. But he was laughing and he was waving. So this is something you have to deal with on the ICW. It is rare. Again, this is only the second time that somebody's thought it was funny, but it is a problem, and you could jeopardize our safety and our boat safety. And I kind of wish we pulled up into St. Augustine and sort of ended up at the same dock as this guy so that I could tell him how I feel. But nonetheless, let's watch the video. You'll see what's up. And if you own one of these boats, please be sort of the kind of boater that radios and says, hey, I know it's narrow up here, sailboat. If you want to stop, I'll go by you real slow. Please be that boater.
Common courtesy,
It is common courtesy. We see a lot of signs through sort of as you get it towards South Carolina, see a lot of signs that say you are responsible for your wake. You are. You absolutely. I used to own powerboats and jet skis. You are responsible for your wake. Just don't be a dick. Anyway, so let's watch the video and you guys can see that, and then we'll move on to the next segment of episode 32.
Woo! Oh, 3.
Dude, hey! What are you doing? Boogie! Change order. Hey guys, we are in lovely St. Augustine. It is 80-something degrees. And it's still early in the day. We got here a couple days ago, and some friends from YouTube, John and John, took us out for a couple of meals on the town. We had a great time. Thank you so much, guys, for that fantastic day. It was awesome. They even came and hung out on the boat with us for a little bit. So very, very super cool. They are aspiring to sail off into the sunset the same way we are. So we thought that was really cool that we could spend the day with them. Today we're going to go on a resupply mission, so we need a whole bunch of boat parts and different things like that, and St. Augustine is filled with boat stores. So if you need something, this is a pretty good place to do it. There's a cruiser's net in the morning on VHF that you can listen to and you can participate in if you got anything for sale, or if you need advice, or you want to just hear what everybody's doing today. So that's pretty cool. St. Augustine's just awesome. I don't know how we could not spend a week here. It's just absolutely amazing. So we're gonna go, they got a little rental place that rents like little scooters or golf carts or cars or bicycles. So we're gonna go and try to rent something so that we can get around to all these stores that we need to get to. I don't think we necessarily need a car, but something big enough that we can put a bunch of stuff on it and get it back to the boat. So that's our plan. We're gonna bring you with us so you can see St. Augustine. Woo! Yay!
We're headed for adventure, our worries left behind. Taken to the water, fun rising like the tide. With open skies above us, we'll be running side by side. Come on and weigh the anchor, we're casting off the line. We'll plot the destination
you want some nuts, buddy? Please buy me some. Please, can I have a quarter? Ew. Okay. So we just hanging out at the Fountain of Youth Park, and we just watched a video about how the Spanish founded Florida, and later Florida became the United States. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Apparently this is the oldest settlement in the United States. First city, St. Augustine. Pretty cool.
Very cool. Very.
We head